Here's Vandana, if you want to take over and tell us a bit about apps within Teams and meetings.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Harish, for setting the context. And just adding a bit more over here, yes, we are already in the hybrid setup right now. And we do have those days of the week where our calendars look really bad, blocked with meetings all day. We try our best to get the most out of them, but we still feel lost in some of them. So, for
Well, yeah,
example, sorry, was that a question?
No, all good.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, as I was saying that, we still face issues when it comes to the busy days of our week. For example, we might not be having the entire context or history behind some of these meetings when we get into the calls, or we might be having a hard time managing the action items or the decisions that came out from our past meetings. And in terms of when it comes to collaborating or working on documents, sheets, or presentations together with our team members, we already struggle to get the FaceTime on a real time basis. So, talking about some of these issues, major issues that we face in our meetings, let's see how apps and teams can help make our lives a little bit easier. How can they help these meetings become more efficient and productive? And with that, let's see how we can use apps within meetings. So the screen that you see over here is just an example. So for example, this particular organization uses an app called Contoso, and there is an option where they can add the app as a tab before the meeting even starts. What is the benefit of that? Users or participants who come into these meetings, they are prepared. They do know what is going to be discussed in these meetings. They can have a look at the docs or the assets that are going to be discussed in these meetings. They do know what happened even in the past meetings. So, for example, once you add the app in the meeting chat, you get a whole lot of information that you are tracking, you are logging in into these apps right now. So once you are inside the meetings, this is how it's going to look like. The app comes up in your side panel and you have all the information handy with you that you're going to discuss. So for example, if there are tasks that are assigned to some of them, they do know that they have to talk about it. What is the due date? What's the progress like? All of this information is handy with the users when they get into the meeting. Additionally, this is something new that can happen. So we can pull in these dashboards onto the central stage. So for example, even if it's not a dashboard or even if it's a presentation that you are working on together, pulling up the slides in here is going to help all of us make changes or updates on the documents at the same time together. So that's the real-time synchronous collaboration that we are looking for in this hybrid setup. Moving on, after a meeting, or if there are people who were not able to attend this meeting, they do know what happened. They do know what's been the progress. They do know if they have some action items pending on them. So even if you're not being able to make into calls, you do know what you missed out on, and you go full prepared when you are going for the next meeting in the series. I'll just pause if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can move forward.
Vaibhav, to answer your question, Spandana is showing you an example of how an app could work through the course of the different stages of a meeting.
Yeah. So, depending on what you want to do, what kind of action you want to drive, in
so
which
there's a
phase, yeah,
there's a query for me. Uh, we have recurring training programs that happens,
hmm,
Yep.
wherein or rather a series of lectures conducted by employees. So what we do is some ideas, some suggestions, or so he will plan for a, so it's a fixed date, fixed time, 2:30 to 3:30 on a Wednesday once in a month. What happens is somebody needs to set it properly, otherwise the recordings are not available for others who would not have joined in. So is there a very specific app that's to need to be used, or is it just as the setting which I have to do in the Teams carry out this kind of so where I can get the recording subsequently. So if a person who has been invited but not attended.
uh, Yeah, I mean, for this, we don't need an app, and correct me if I'm wrong over here, Harish. So it's just we need to record the particular call, whichever you want to give access to the people who have not attended. But we might not need an app right now to record the calls.
Yeah.
Hey,
No, so
Anil, in this case, you
mm,
don't need an app. The people who have accepted the meeting
Mm.
should get the recording gets published in the chat of the meeting. It also is
yeah.
available with artifacts in the meeting, right? After the meeting, if you go into the calendar
So
item, you can see
so
it.
actually, this is not a meeting. It's more of a recurring, kind of educational, sessions that
It's
we
still
conduct.
a virtual meeting, right? Like you create a
Yeah,
Teams
yeah.
meeting for it. Yeah, yeah. So it's the same thing, whether once or recurring. And what happens is, see, the recording gets stored in the OneDrive of the organizer. So they can always just reshare the link on that invite if they like, but it anyways gets published in the chat and the calendar item. So later on,
So
also folks can come and access the recording.
so there are certain settings that needs to be done when a Teams meeting is configured, in the sense, that automatically the recording should be
Yeah, you
started
can
and
do
those kind.
that.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can set that up
So
also.
that's an effort, right? That's an effort for one time that one person has to do it for all the HR guys, who typically must be.
No,
So we
see,
need to.
yeah, so you can set up as a meeting options for that recurring invite just once.
Hmm.
Go into the
Okay.
meeting options and select, it's no effort, just select the option that says set automatic recording. And then every
Okay.
meeting will automatically get recorded in that
Hmm.
series.
Fine. And the person who's not able to join, he will get the link automatically
Yeah.
on his email or somewhere, or he
No,
has
it
to
will
go.
be a part of the calendar invite. So it will be
Okay.
available there.
So is there a way to demonstrate this? I don't know. I mean, I'm not still able
Maybe
to.
in the towards the end, if there's some time, we
Okay,
can pick
fine.
it up under. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anil.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yes. So what we were saying is, depending on what action that we want to drive, that can help us kind of segment the apps that are available right now within meetings. So for example, the task tracking and the meeting management apps would be used throughout the cycle. You would want people to have access to it before the meeting starts. They should be able to see it during the meeting, and they should also be able to have access to it after the meeting ends. Similarly, if there is a polling or survey that you want to run with the participants before or during the meeting, then that is something that can be used before the meeting even starts, and it can be picked up when the meeting is running right now. Similarly, if there is an ideation session or a whiteboarding that you want to drive during the meeting, that is also something that we can do. We have multiple options for running ideation sessions or whiteboarding sessions within meetings. And if it's a town hall or a monthly or a weekly catch up with your team and you want to drive some fun games, quizzes, you want to keep your participants engaged, have some ice breaking sessions, then we can go for some of the well-being apps, and we have a bunch of these options present on the App Store. So with this, we'll quickly move on to a demo. So what we see on this slide is basically the kind of apps that can help us manage meetings or tasks that come out from these meetings. And these are just a sample of all the apps that are available on the App Store. We have multiple such options available. We will move into a demo for the app called Decisions. Give me a moment. All right. Um, so what we see over here is the app called Decisions. It's a very fairly simple app. It helps us create agendas, create task items, decision points, discussion points that we want to talk about during the meetings. And let's see what more we can do with it. So on the left hand side, what you see over here are all the upcoming meetings for me on my calendar. And I can also go to the past tab on the top and look at my past meetings. So I have access to both my history of whatever has happened on my calendar before, and I can plan my meetings beforehand that's coming up on my day. So for example, this is a test meeting that I created. For any particular meeting, you can create an agenda, and if you are not an organizer of the meeting, then you can suggest topics. If you're an organizer of the meeting, then you can request for topics from the users as well. And for agendas, we have a bunch of templates over here that we can use. For example, if I pick up this project status update, then this is an agenda that's already been built up. We can choose to use it or we can just go ahead and create our own. I will just click on apply and I'll say that this is a single agenda. Since this is one meeting that I'm going to have today, I just select the second option, go to next. This is the team where I want the meeting details to be published. Click on next. Taking some time. Yes, so I have my draft agenda over here. What is interesting is that within each of these agenda items, if I just click on this small pencil icon, I can go in and edit this. I can assign this to a person who's in the meeting. Say, for example, I assign this to myself, go click on apply. I can decide what is the time that I want to spend on this particular agenda item. Say I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes. I go in and do that. I can attach files over here. I can specify if this is something that's for a discussion or if you want to take some decisions on this particular item or this is just for informational purposes. So these are the three kinds of agenda items that we can add over here. I go on and click save. So what you see in red is basically this is a half an hour time slot, but my agenda is running more than that. So I need to shorten the amount of time that I have specified for each of them. That's going to help us. Let me assign this to somebody else. Click on apply, save. And if I hover between two agenda items over here, I can even add a break. So for example, if you're running really long meetings, I can just go on and add a break option over here. Break for this, and that's why it shows the pause sign.
Just wanted to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
See, what typically happens is the first meeting, yes, things are done properly, we schedule everything and all. But subsequent follow-up meeting, like we have in, fortnightly or a monthly steering committee meetings, right?
Hmm.
So what happens is there is a follow-through action points, and then there are certain other new points that added in the next com. These are
Yeah.
all recurring meetings, but then the agenda may possibly get, added, deleted, kept on hold
Yeah.
and all those things. So typically this kind of a very structured way of, doing things falls or falters whenever such kind of updates happen. And then it becomes a, millstone in the neck, to follow all the systems. And then people switch back to either Excel, PowerPoint, Word, or whatever,
Yeah, no, basically, this is something that can be done for your series meetings, and it's not necessary that we'll have the same agenda for every meeting in the series. I can just move this particular item to my next meeting that's there in the next call. So, need not be that I have the exact same agenda copied to my next meeting in the series. So, we can selectively take some of these action items or agenda points from the previous call to the next call, and we can keep on adding and editing action items or agenda for the subsequent calls. We need not have like a structure for all of them, the same structure.
Yeah,
If
only
that,
navigating between, over the month, over the week, or over fortnights, between what happened last time and this time, sometimes this kind of a structured way of, working becomes a big challenge. So what happens is I got one PPT, two PPT, three PPT. Okay, I have dates for that. Immediately open it, see it, and then let's close it. Because the time that is available during the such meetings, they're very high powered, kind of a level people. Becomes very tough to manage that. Anyway, so one needs to figure out how this software or this app will help us to. Yeah, please go
Just a
ahead.
quick addition on that, I believe, Anil, is while this gives you an opportunity to structure the meeting beforehand, this also allows you the flexibility to make changes while in the progress of a meeting if anything changes in the agenda. So you have the complete control to change the agenda while in the meeting, not for the past items, of course, but add new things and recurring meetings as well. So you do have a chance to have a structured meeting at the start and have flexibility to change as you go along.
Yeah, but
Fine, I
Anil
think
will,
we should.
yeah, we'll definitely like get in touch with you to see how, we can help you find a solution within Teams. But
Right.
that's a really good point. Thanks, Anil.
Thanks.
thank you, Anil. All right, I'll just quickly move on and show how the meeting looks like when we use this app. So for example, I had set up the agenda for one particular call. And when I join this, just mute myself. Yes, so I have the decisions agenda on the top. It's going to pull in all my action items or decisions, discussions, whatever I wanted to discuss on the right-hand side. I know who's going to talk about it, what's the time allocated to each of them. If I click on it, we have details. And additionally, if this is a decision point and you want to get votes from participants, then that is also possible from this particular app. And the most important bit over here is the timer. So once you select this, it's kind of going to alert every participant that your time's up or your time is coming up. Have you prepared for this agenda item or not? So I think this is personally the most important feature that the app provides. So yeah, so with this, we move on to the next section of apps. Yeah, sorry. Yes. So the next segment is polling and surveys, and I'm sure a lot of you are already using some of the apps that you see, the logos that you see over here. Polling apps can be used to gather instant feedback or when you're having some trainings or brown bag sessions, if you want to get votes on certain ideas or decisions, you want to understand what's the team sentiment like in case of town halls or monthly meetings, then these apps are going to be super useful. And I know that all of you are already familiar with some of them. But yes, this is one of the most favorite segment of apps that I have personally.
I think you would have already probably seen, I think when we started out the session, Satya had sent out a poll. That's a really good example of, how you can gather feedback real time and, change the course of your discussions. And especially if it's a large audience and even if you want to make decisions on the go, running polls and gathering information really helps.
And does this apps work if somebody is joined from a browser kind of interface?
Yeah. So what I just displayed over here, it was actually from a browser interface. So yeah, we can get, so I'm again joining this app, sorry, the meeting, and we do have some of our polling apps over there.
Okay, so it can come via
Yes. Yeah.
browser team. Okay.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much, Spandana. That's really good, sort of, giving us an understanding of, meeting apps, meeting management apps, how you can use that to track decisions, track, task management, especially when you have recurring meetings, a lot of meetings, and you want to you want to stay on top of it. And this will
Yeah.
help not just you, but, many folks across the organization who work, across different teams. And polling apps. We've seen fantastic traction within teams for polling apps, which help just from a simple fun scenarios where you want to like quickly organize, what you want to do for dinner as a team or go out somewhere to actually making key decisions. We've seen customers actually democratically make decisions using polls inside meetings, inside chats, channels, and different areas within teams. So definitely see a lot of value in this. Thank you, Spandana. Thank you so much.